Victoria from Biblio Lifestyle, and you're listening to the Reader's Couch podcast, the show that will help you bridge the gap between living a full and busy life to one where you're reading, learning new things, and having fun. Today on the couch, I'm so excited to welcome author Del Sandeen to talk about her novel, This Cursed House. This Cursed House is a debut Southern Gothic horror novel that follows Gemma Barker, a young black woman eager to escape her life in 1960s Chicago, including all the spirits she can see. So she accepts a job as a tutor for the Deshawn family in New Orleans, hoping for a fresh start. However, Gemma soon learns that the Deshawns, a black family that's white presenting, are hiding a dark secret. They are cursed, and they believe Gemma is the person who can break the spell. Now, as Gemma grapples with her long-avoided gift, she uncovers unsettling secrets that have bound the family for over a century, also linking her fate to theirs. So readers, you can expect an eerie and atmospheric Southern Gothic tale filled with mystery, family secrets, and the supernatural. The novel also explores themes of identity, belonging, and the burdens of the past. But before we get into the episode, pretty please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, leave the podcast a 5-star rating, and write me a review if you love the show. Thanks in advance. And now onto the episode with author Del Sandeen. Hello, friends. Hello. Welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me to talk about This Cursed House is author Del Sandeen. Hi, Del. Welcome to the Reader's Couch.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! I'm thrilled to have you on the show. Can't wait to talk about This Cursed House. But before we get into the book itself, this is your debut. How are you feeling? How excited are you that your book is now out there in the world?
I'm super excited. I have had a few friends ask me, has it hit you yet? They were asking me that months ago, though. And no, it still has not hit me yet. It still feels very surreal, almost like it's happening to someone else. But it's been fun and exciting, and I'm just grateful, and I'm just having a wonderful time with it.
I love hearing that. I think that's the most important thing. Just sit in the experience, even if it hasn't hit you yet, but embrace whatever it is that you're getting and feeling. But tell our listeners about your book, This Cursed House. I really enjoy this one. It's a Southern Gothic. I think the publication timing is just absolutely perfect. But yes, tell us about your novel. What can readers expect? Essentially, what's your elevator pitch?
Okay. The elevator pitch is Gemma Barker has run from her ability to see ghosts her entire life, but now she must use that gift to save a cursed family or else suffer their same fate. First, I just want to say I am super excited that it is coming out in October. Thank you, Berkeley. Spooky season. Yes, thank you. That's perfect. So basically, This Cursed House, the protagonist is named Gemma Barker. She's a 27-year-old school teacher, and she moves from Chicago in the US down to New Orleans. The reason she moves is she's had some issues in Chicago, and the job offer that she gets from the Deshawns at the perfect time. So she moves down south, and because it's the early 60s in the US, she immediately is faced with some differences just as far as how she's treated up north versus how she's treated down south. Because as she travels further south on the train, she's relegated to the colored car of the train. She's not as able to move as freely around New Orleans she's used to. So on top of that, confronting the discomfort that she's also dealing with this family who they are Black, but they don't look Black because they are very light-skinned. And because Gemma is darker, unfortunately, they're colorist, so they don't treat Gemma very well. And even though she thought she could maybe outrun the ghosts by leaving her hometown, she soon finds out that she can't. That's basically the premise.
yes, absolutely. And I love getting to know Gemma. Like you said, for reasons, she leaves Chicago, she goes to New Orleans, but there was a lot that was happening. She has adoptive parents. So that's also a storyline. The situation with her boyfriend was very violent, for lack of a better word. And like you said, there's some ghosts that it's clear she can't outrun. So she has that backstory. She is carrying a lot. And then she shows up to this job, which I think it's important to mention. She thinks it's one thing, and then it turns out to be something else. She's showing up thinking she's going to be a tutor for this family. And then she discovers, okay, no, this is not it. What am I doing here? It turns out that she's a companion for this family, but the family also has motives in itself. So I think that really captivated me, I have to say, and just seeing that transition in her story. But one topic that's really big at the center is, I think, within the Black community, colorism is a big topic of conversation. Now, of course, it's not isolated to the Black community, spreads throughout, but within the community itself, which is what I felt like the novel really focused on, because we have this Black family, but they're more white presenting, and just the way they are treated by society, then how they treat Gemma as well. I'm really curious as to your decision to make that a focal point of the novel, and seeing how Gemma navigates it along with the Duchamps.
Okay. I guess I feel like there wouldn't be much of a story, or at least not much of the same story, if the colorism was not part of it, because obviously I can't give away too much here. You come to find out how closely their background and Gemma's background, how closely they're connected and affect one another. Also, I know that when I first started writing, I wasn't even for sure that I was going to set it back in the 60s. I considered setting it in the modern era. And one of the reasons I decided to set it back in the 60s is I wanted to put more obstacles in Gemma's path. Unfortunate thing is, though I think colorism was more, I don't know, I think acceptable back then, it still does exist, even though we are now in 2024. So if I had said it in the present day, Gemma could still have dealt with colorism, but there would have been a lot more pushback, I think, from other people.
Yes, I agree with you, because I think it's similar to, because I call them cousins, racism and colorism, they're like cousins, right? With that said, yes, I see where you're saying, because some people would treat her or approach it like, no, this is on you, it's maybe in your head more, where I think it's more on the nose and more direct, using the 60s setting. Now, I want us to talk about the ghost and the ghosts that are following Gemma, but also when she goes to the Duchamps. I think it's noteworthy to say this family is cursed.
Yes.
And they actually need Gemma. They feel she's going to be the last hope to help break the spell. So we have a woman who's running away from the ghost, ends up in this family. Again, she thought the job was one thing. It turned out to be something else. And now she turns out to be the last hope for this family. So tell us about the curse. Tell us what they're hoping Gemma might be able to do for them, and just how these roles intersect.
Okay. About the curse, I don't want to say everything about the curse, but basically, as you said, the family is cursed. It's basically a death curse. Also, it's a generational curse. So Gemma ends up, I said, she has to use that ability that she has suppressed pretty much her whole life in order to move forward, uncover some secrets, and find the tools that she needs to not only break the curse over the family, but also make sure that she is also free from her own curse. And in terms of the generational curse over the Duchamps, it's not just the spirits that Gemma is able to see and that follow her, but it's also their way of thinking. Yes, it's definitely a multi-layered curse or multi-layered issues going on within the family.
Yes, absolutely. And the Duchamps are quite odd. They're a very odd family.
Yes.
I actually loved reading about them. I think you did a really great job of kind of creating the setting and the presence. This is a very atmospheric novel. I love the Southern Gothic vibe. And in addition to A woman outrunning her ghost, then landing in a family wish them even more and trying to help them break their curse and hers. We really see questions of generational lineage, family, of course, race. We talked about the colorism and other things, but I think Gemma is a character we can get behind. We want to see her win. We want to see her do well. And yeah, this book just gave me a lot to think about, but it was also page turning at the same time because I wanted to see what happened next. What inspired this story? Where did this original idea come from?
This was okay. For anyone who does not know, this is the 6.5 manuscript that I finished. The reason I say 6.5 because there was a novella in there, and this was, I think, the very first story that, instead of the idea coming to me while I was doing something else, walking, like with a lot of writers, ideas just come to you at any time. You can be taking a walk, watching television, washing dishes. I had just finished a project and I sat down and I said, what am I going to write next? I had no idea. And the first idea that came to me was cursed family. So that was where I started. And I was able to, I think, put the details of the curse. That came pretty quickly. One of my favorite movies is Eve's Bayou. That was made back in the mid 90s. It's also set in New Orleans. It's got a Southern Gothic vibe to it. It's mystical and fabulous. That was a big inspiration for me, the setting and the time period. And also I love, I think, just exploring family dynamics because everyone's family is different. And I grew up an only child. I have no siblings. I didn't have anyone to fight with. I didn't have anyone to share with. So my friends who did have brothers and sisters, it was always just interesting to me to see how they got along. And even though they might argue and squabble sometimes, it's like at the root of it, at the core of it, there was always a love there. And I just love that. So I wanted to just really explore a family because I know it's described as a Southern Gothic horror, but it is about family and acceptance and about forgiveness. Yes, that all tied into there.
Yes, I think family is definitely a strong theme in this novel. Who would you say was your favorite character to write and discover? And you can't say Gemma.
Okay, that's good because I was not going to say Gemma. My favorite character actually is Magdalene because she tells it like it is. She's not scared. She does not hold back. And I just love people like that. Yes, if you're going to say it, say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't beat around the bush. Don't play games. So that's what I liked about Magdalene. Yes.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that too. So that's great to hear. Getting into your writing life, this is your debut. You said you had written 6.5 projects now. Are you working on anything else? Is anything top of mind right now?
Yes, I'm actually started my second novel with Berkeley. It is another horror novel. Yes, because I just started, I can't say too much about it, but I will say its vibe is closer to something like The Haunting of Hill House because it's yeah, more of a house story.
A story. And I love Shirley Jackson.
Okay.
Love, love another house story. Rebecca, I love a house story.
Great.
So that sounds amazing. It's okay. I know it's early days yet, but now
Yes.
that you do have this cursed house, the book is out there in the world. What would you tell your younger writing self? 6.5 stories later, now you have this one published and you're working on book 2.
Yes. I would just say enjoy the process. I think sometimes, and I know I did the same thing, and I think sometimes as writers, we tend to get focused on the end product or what's going to happen after. And I think it's just very important to enjoy the journey as you're going through it. Because when I was writing this cursed house, I was able to enjoy it more because I work from an outline. It's not a tight outline, a loose outline. And some things change as you're writing, and some things really surprised me. And sometimes I don't know what's going to happen until I am actually sitting down and writing a scene. And that's especially true for dialogue. I might have a rough idea in my head I might even have a line or two of what I think a character is going to say. But until I'm sitting down writing the scene, I don't know exactly how that conversation is going to go. And yes, sometimes the characters I'll be writing and then I'll write a line. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. This is a surprise. So that's always nice. So yeah, just enjoy every step of it because one day you're going to look back and if you didn't enjoy it, I think you feel sad about that.
Yeah, I agree. It's very important sometimes to just be in the present moment and not think too much ahead or get
Right.
behind. It's definitely something you have to work on and practice.
Yes.
I don't think it comes natural to us humans. Some people, but not the majority of us. We really have to work on being
Definitely.
present. Yes, for sure. So let's get into your reading life real quick. Share with our
Okay.
listeners some of the last books that you finished reading that you'd now recommend.
Okay. Currently, I am reading I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I think the first Stephen Graham Jones book, it was either earlier this year or last year. And I've loved his everything that I've read so far. Earlier this summer, I finished the Angel of Indian Lake trilogy, which I really enjoyed. But prior to that book, I finished Lone Women by Victor Laval. And if anyone out there is not familiar with Victor Laval, please pick up his books. I love his stuff. Before that, I read Diavola by Jennifer Marie Thorne. And that was another creepy Italian villa story. I love that one too. So those were the most recent ones. This year I read a lot of horror because funnily enough, I first submitted This Cursed House. I didn't really even consider it a horror story. And I know that probably sounds funny to anyone who has read it, but in working with my agent and my editor, it actually got scarier. So I think that was why. But it's been fun just because I think like when I was growing up, there were not a lot of Black horror writers or authors of color who were writing horror, but now so many. Alexis Henderson is another one who I want to shout out. P. Jelly Clark, Eden Royce, and obviously Tana Nari Duke, Jewel Parker Rhodes. It's been fantastic just seeing myself reflected back in these books that I really just love to read.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I am such a fan of Alexis Henderson. When you mentioned
Yes.
Jelly Clark, I was like, yes, these are my people.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this one and if you read This Cursed House and you're looking for more, you just got a whole author list and they have books so you can go
Yes.
read the new ones, but also read the backlist as well. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to. On the show, we also love our independent bookstores. So share with our listeners some of your favorite local indies.
Okay. The first one I'd like to mention is Femme Fire Books. They are based in Jacksonville, Florida. They're a small independent bookstore. Love them. And another one I want to mention, and I am having an author event there on the day my book comes out, October 8th, is San Marco Books and More, another local bookstore. They've been around a very long time. Yes, those two in particular, if you're in the Northeast Florida area, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, please patronize them.
Yes, absolutely. So getting back to your novel now, This Cursed House. Again, I know this is your debut. You've written a book. The book is done. So now it's just for readers to go to their bookstore and go to their library to get their hands on a copy. But as an author, what are you hoping in an ideal world readers might think or call a friend to talk about? What are the conversations you're hoping readers might have after they've turned the last page?
One of my friends, he told me he was not very aware of the whole colorism thing. And I've talked to a couple of other people since who are not in the Black community. One of them, she did say she had Black friends, so she was aware of it. But the other person, he was not aware of it at all. I would love if people could talk about some of these topics that I know they're uncomfortable to talk about. But like Magdalene, for instance, we're not going to, if we just rug sweep and ignore it, it's not going to go away on its own. And I think if we can air it out and discuss and see other people's point of view and just validate other people's feelings, we can eventually get to a point where we're able to move forward and move past these things.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I often say, don't wait till it's a problem or something happened to have the conversation. Let's talk about it in a more relaxed, the house isn't burning kind of moment, because then it's easier. And then,
Yes.
emotions aren't that high. So the fact that we do have books that, again, while are very entertaining and transportive, but it can also start conversations. And I truly feel that's what you'll get with this cursed house. So yeah, Del, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. This has been fun.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Reader's Couch podcast. Please subscribe to the show, share it with a friend, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Until next time, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks again for listening, and happy reading.